Crime is up across the board in Baltimore.
Fatal triple shooting at a Northeast Baltimore shopping center.
A murder a day and on a record pace.
200 murders on the board for this year.
Baltimore City sees 300 lives lost to violence for an 8th year in a row.
They're brothers, sons, friends, and they're facing a daily battle that often goes unnoticed. In the heart of Baltimore, there's a vibrant culture, a rich history, but also a chilling narrative that becomes all too familiar. The alarming rate of violence faced by these young men is a stark reality. For it isn't solely a Baltimore narrative. It's a reflection of countless cities and communities grappling with these same challenges. Now, if you're seeing this, it's still Men's Health Month. At least I hope it is. And when we started this project, it was supposed to be about men's health. You know, talk about fitness, nutrition, etc. But life has its own plans. This ain't just about Men's Health Month in a general sense. It's about the survival and well-being of our community. Since 2015, over 300 murders a year in this city. 300 murders a year. Now, I know some of y'all watching this and know the story of Baltimore and you're like, yeah, that's a lost cause, my man. And look, if you asked me this a few years ago, I would have agreed with you. But thankfully, I think the story's changing. This is also a story of resilience. It's about the tireless efforts of educators, mentors, community leaders, and the young men who refuse to let their circumstances define them. This is Kamar Lewis. Growing up, he faced a multitude of challenges, from bullying in school to the harsh confrontations in the streets of Baltimore. Unfortunately, tragedy did not spare Kamar. He faced unimaginable pain of losing someone dear to him. Yet, in the face of sorrow, Kamar made a choice to keep moving forward, to keep fighting.
My friend Elias, he was like a brother to me. I moved to kindergarten. There was a very strong connection. There was a brotherhood there. I consider him like one of my brothers. So losing him had a very strong emotional impact, and then losing him into gun violence, you know, it creates a lot of anger. To say that I felt a lot of anger in the process of this would be an understatement, but what this has done, as I've thought about it more, is it's opened my mind to just how much that therapy, that counseling is needed for a state, a place like this, like Baltimore City, like Baltimore County, any place like that, where gun violence is something you're going to experience. It's going to happen, maybe to a level, maybe to friends. It's maybe an inevitable day-to-day future, but to deal with how to cope with that, to let them know that that's not your only future and that there's places beyond Baltimore, but that if you can rise up to the occasion, if you don't let yourself sink into your surroundings, you can rise up and get out. That is giving me a very strong sense of duty to do that for myself, to do that for my friends, to help my friends get there to where they're not just stuck into, oh, this is all Baltimore has, just death, violence and all that, and there's nothing else, you know, because that can be easily to get your mind stuck into that, where you just want to stay here. It's very easy to feel angry, but it's hard to let go. It's hard to let go and grow. For me, suffering with PTSD, depression, and at one point in time, suicidal ideations, that was a big threat in my life, you know? Like outside of, you know, maybe walking down the street and people pressing me, or maybe I'm going to school, people would think that I got something good on, they want to take it from me. Myself, I was a danger to myself because I didn't understand how to manage those emotions and how to control myself in that degree, because I had no one to speak to and I had no good examples. If I had not gone to Shepherd Prep, to where I met a bunch of different people with a bunch of different outlooks who've gone through so many different things, to where you get a real outlook perspective of how life is, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Unfortunately, this is a reality for many. With self-deletion and homicide on the rise, it's become more important for men to be able to explain what's going on in their mind and truly express their feelings. And now in the digital age, with social media, with the power to connect us all across the world, it also has the ability to magnify feelings of isolation, inadequacy, and in many cases, spark violent tendencies.
Baltimore is a unique animal, and we show that because even as other cities trend different ways, we've kind of been consistent. And I would love to see a Baltimore that is safer and healthier. And I know I'm not alone in that.
Dr. Johnny Rice II, Chair of Criminal Justice at Coppin State University. With over 25 years of diverse experience, he and his team are currently taking part in a multi-city research initiative, probing the causes and solutions of youth gun violence.
To date, we have interviewed 95 African-American males. And these are young men between the ages of 15 to 24 that have admit to us that they have a history of gun possession. One of the things that has been primary is that Black men in Baltimore who possess firearms, many of them do not feel safe. And they possess that firearm because they do not want to be a victim. A lot of times when you think nationally, the stereotype of crime, you know, Black males are the image that some communities may put at the forefront. But the reality is that, you know, Black males are more at risk to be harmed by another Black male. And so when that occurs, it can't be minimized because there's trauma that's associated with those experiences. Young men witness violence at a very young age and they haven't really processed it. There may need to be mental health services and counseling to be able to process what it is that they witness. So if you're a young teenager and you witness a friend of yours get murdered, but nothing happened in terms of you getting any type of mental health treatment or counseling, what do you do with that?
A lot of it is a fear of being rejected, a fear of being seen as less than, and then a fear of that vulnerability leading to you being hurt, which causes, I feel, a lot of young men, especially around this area, to open themselves up in anger. Because when you open yourself up in anger, it's not necessarily, oh, I'm vulnerable, so I'm gonna get hurt. It's vulnerable, so if you do something wrong, I'm gonna hurt you, right?
Hurt people hurt people. Our culture has never really expressed healthy ways to cope. The means used to numb the pain, sex, drugs, murder. These aren't just sensational headlines that garner the most attention. They've become tools for temporary escape, fueling a cycle of pain that at times seems unending. The question still remains though, how do you break this cycle?
The Black community is in a cultural crisis. We're in a crisis of values, a crisis of morals, a crisis of agreed upon communal right and wrong.
In response to the Freddie Gray uprising, Elijah Miles founded Tendea Family, an organization centered around the mission to uplift Baltimore's Black community.
We're told that we're supposed to be individualistic. You're supposed to pursue your money, your car, the best for your family. When you don't have a stable right and wrong that is given to you by the Black community, by your community, that tells you how to be a productive citizen, and then you have individualism pushed out as the culture, then what you do is, man, if I'm selling drugs to support my family, I'm being a good man. It don't matter that I'm selling drugs to your grandmother. It don't matter if I'm selling drugs to your aunt. If I'm selling drugs and I'm supporting my family, that's good because it's about me at the end of the day. Part of the solution is Black men, Black boys, Black community. There has to be codes of conduct, morality that's not given to us by the larger society, because the larger society will give us an NBA YoungBoy as an example. Will give us a Floyd Money Mayweather as an example. Will give us a Jay-Z as an example. We'll be those people, but then if we don't have those skills and talents, we'll pick up a gun and get Floyd's money that way. We'll pick up a gun and pick up some drugs and get NBA YoungBoy's money that way.
There are a lot of grown men out here who are little boys at mind and heart. You got the age, but you have nothing else but that. Because you haven't grown in those fields. You haven't been taught to. It may not necessarily be your fault, but at some point in time, we have to understand that that's what's happening. And to break that cycle, we have to eventually start doing it.
In Baltimore, you hear the term, stay out of the way. Not to get involved, mind your own business. But there's a cost to that. We hear and we see crime victims, family members on the news and say, you may feel a certain way that this isn't your issue, but when it comes knocking at your door and you lose a loved one, be it male, female, young, old, you'll feel differently and want people to get involved.
If you hit a man in his face, in time, his wounds will heal. If you steal his goods, later on, you can return those goods. But if you kill, there is no later on. There's no way to make it right with him or his family.
Sometimes they say your purpose is some skill and talent. Sometimes they say your purpose is whatever you want to be when you grow up. But what every black boy and every black girl have to understand out there is that you're born with a purpose. What you're here to do is use your life to impact as many people as you possibly can so that you can make your neighborhood, your community, the country better than what you found it.
Crime and violence that exists in this city is problematic, but they can overcome it and they can contribute to making the city safer. They have influence, right? They need to utilize their influence with their peers so that their peers can also do the right thing if they indeed are doing the right thing.
There's a lot of impact that we could have that some of us don't necessarily realize. I would think that our generation could have a very positive effect, you know? Just being a little more kind, a little more peaceful, a little more loving. Never hurts.
Real change begins with fostering mental health, nurturing mentorship, combating poverty, and redefining role models. We have the power to arm our youth with resilience and ambition, paving a path for a brighter future. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, thank you, and thank you. Question of the video: what's one commitment that you're willing to make to help out your community? For me, I think I can count on one hand how many times I've done community service. So I'm making the commitment of doing community service at least once a month to start. And then from there, who knows? Maybe it'll be more. Maybe I'll start doing my own charities. Who knows? I'd love to see what you guys' thoughts are and your commitments down in the comment section below. Until next time, I'll see you.